milk toast. Now with your left hand, reach out and grab your nose. Say yeah, do a high five with your friend. Up high, down low, too slow, let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be canning some peach jelly. I've had a ton of peaches come in on my trees in the back, and as I'm harvesting them, I'm going to be processing them into jelly, peach pie filling, and anything else I can think of. Today we're going to make a video on processing the peaches from juicing them to canning them. I hope you enjoy the video. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below, and let's get to it. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, Bake Me Happy. Today we are going to juice some peaches because I'm going to make some peach jelly later on. And my peaches are starting to come in, but of course they don't come in all together. So I'm going to take them steps at a time and steam juice them, and then once I have enough juice, I'll go ahead and make the jelly. So this is the steam juicer. We use this when we did our blackberries. So you have your lid, you have the colander that you put your fruit in. This is where the peaches, the juice drips into and comes out this spout, and this spout you have in a jar. And then this is where you put the water, and you just use simmering water. It takes maybe, it depends on how many peaches you put in there, but it takes about an hour or so. Usually with me, with everything it takes longer, but I'm just doing a little bit of peaches this time. And you can put the peaches in here whole, or you can put them in, peel them, take the pits out and put them in that way. You get a lot of flavor out of the peels. So I'm actually going to just cut them in half and take the pits out. I don't know if the pits would create a bitter flavor to the juice or not. I'm doctoring up making the jelly, adding a bunch of sugar and some lemon juice, but I'm going to go ahead and cut the peaches and take the pits out. So we will come back once we start this process. So this is going to be a really easy process. What I'm doing is I'm cutting the peaches, and I'm just kind of slicing around them and just twisting, popping the pit out, and just throwing them into the pot. At this point, cut out any blemishes. You might have some wormholes. I didn't find any worms in it, but you can see some holes in there and here. I'm just digging that out and popping the pits out. I'm taking the stems out. If there's any hard woody stems, pop those off also. But this is a real quick process. And then we'll come back once we've got all these cut up. So I've got all the peaches in the juicer, and then I'm going to fill the bottom part of the juicer with water to about an inch or two from the top. Bring it to a boil. Just let it simmer after that. And intermittently, I'm going to keep checking it. You could just lift the middle handle, lift the whole thing up, make sure your water hasn't boiled out. If it has, just set the top two pieces to the side, fill it back with water, bring it back to a, put it back on top, bring it back to a simmer. So I'm going to take this clamp off. Whoop. Hold on, let me put y'all down for a second. There we go. I needed two hands to do that, to raise it up. But here you can see the juice coming out. Nice clear juice, and that's with the peels on. So I'm just going to leave that unclamped. Move this a little bit and just watch it so it doesn't overflow. But yeah, it's coming out good. You can see the peaches up here are steaming nice. Makes your house smell good. So we'll be back. And here is the 3 cups of juice that I've gotten so far. It's nice and clear. Here are the peaches after you're done juicing. They, out of 3.5 pounds of peaches, I got 6 cups of juice. And then I just placed the juice in the refrigerator until I was ready to use it and let it cool down completely. And here I'm listing the ingredients for a single batch. I tripled mine so I could have more half pints, but a single batch gives you 6 to 7 half pints. And then here's my equipment for the canning. I have my canning pot. You can use any pot with any lid because we're just bath canning. And this is my jelly pot, I call it. You can use any kind of pot, but I have my jars, my half pint jars in there in hot water just so that they're close to the same temperature as my hot liquid when I start pouring the jelly into the jars. So here I'm combining the lemon juice and the peach juice, and lemon juice is optional. You don't have to add it because you don't need it for the acidity like you typically would for non-acidic foods that you might be canning or bath canning or pressure canning. But it does enhance the flavor, and it doesn't make it sour. It just gives it a nice enhanced flavor. So I will use the lemon juice in all my jellies. In this recipe, you can use any kind of juice. You can use your blackberry juice, apple juice, and just use the same ratios and to make the same jelly, just different flavors. So after I get my peach juice and lemon juice combined, I'm going to add my powdered pectin. Now you can use the 3 boxes, or I'm sorry, 1 box of doing the single recipe, the 1 box of the Sure-Jell. Don't get the clear gel, that's totally different. You want to use Sure-Jell pectin or ball pectin, any kind of powdered pectin. With the Sure-Jell, it comes in 1.75, so it's measured out for you. If you use a bulk type pectin like I do, it ended up being like 2/3 cup when I tripled it, but it's 1.75 ounces is what you would need, so you would need to measure that out. But you want to add powdered pectin to cold liquid. If you add it to hot, it's going to clump up on you. So I have not even started the fire into this pot yet. I'm just adding the pectin and stirring it up so I don't get any clumps in there. And then once I get it all combined, I'm going to turn the fire on high. We're going to continue, once I do turn the fire on high, I'm going to continuously stir this until it comes to a rolling boil. And when I say rolling boil, I mean a boil that doesn't go away when you stir it. And in this video, I'll show you the where I could stir the boil down and then where it was ready when I stirred it, and it didn't stop boiling. Once you get it to that point where it's at that rolling boil that you can't stir down, that's when you're going to add the sugar. I do have the video of me stirring it with the sugar in, but I forgot to turn the camera on when I was adding the sugar. But you're going to pour the sugar in, and then you're going to keep stirring again until it comes back to a boil. Here I'm just scraping it down so that there's no sugar stuck to the sides of the pan. You don't have to do this. I just do it. But when you get the sugar in there, stir it, keep stirring it until it comes to a boil. Once it comes to the rolling boil that you can't stir down, you're going to set your timer for 1 minute, and you're going to boil this for 1 minute while you're stirring. And here's where I am stirring the sugar. I'm going to bring this back to a boil. And once it comes to a boil that I can't stir down, I'm going to boil it for 1 minute and then we'll be done. Here I'm taking my hot jars out of the pot and setting them on this towel. I have the towel on a wooden just cutting board. You don't want to set these on anything cold because the hot and the cold will make the jars crack. Just like the reason why you heat the jars up is so when you put hot liquid in it, you don't run the risk of it cracking and then ruining all your hard work that you've done and losing a jar. So we're going to set these out and then we're going to fill them. So you're going to see here that I'm going to try to fill a jar in the back without using a funnel or a ladle and just using my pot. And I do have a little lip on my pot and it works well when I'm really down low and don't have a lot of fluid in this, but because I have a lot, it's dripping down the sides. It didn't hit the jar, got all around, made a big mess and wasted some jelly. So you want to use a funnel, and I have a big glass 8-cup measuring cup that I'll pour it in, and then I use a big ladle and ladle the jelly into the jars, and that way it's a lot less waste. But if you're good at pouring stuff in from the pot, you can try. I'm just not that good at it. But here you can see the big measuring cup of jelly I have, and I'm just going to put the funnel into the cup and just ladle it in. Now, for headspace, headspace is the amount of space from the top of the jelly to the top of the jar. And for the jelly, you want it to have a 1/4-inch headspace. If you fill it too high, it's going to kind of expand and pour out, and you don't get a good seal. And sometimes if you don't put enough in, it's the same thing. If I ever have extra jelly left over that doesn't quite fill up a jar, I just let it gel and then put it in the refrigerator and use that up. This jelly will last for up to 2 years on the shelf. So if I have too much jelly in one jar, I kind of spoon it and put it in a jar that didn't get enough jelly. I'm going to show you my little tool I use to measure the headspace. It's just a little plastic flat tool that has ridges on the end, and you just prop the ridge that is labeled the headspace that you want on top of the jar, and then the very tip would be touching whatever you're measuring, and that tells you that you have enough headspace. And here's the tool. It has those little ridges that have little measurements on them, and you would just put that on the jar, whatever measurement you need for the headspace, and there you can see the measurements. So that bottom one where it says 1/4 inch, that sat on the rim of the jar, and the very tip should be touching the jelly, and that tells me I had a 1/4 inch of headspace. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and some white vinegar, and I am just going to wipe down all of the rims on the outside and on the top just to make sure any jelly that might have dripped on there is wiped off. That way, that's going to help me create a good seal when I process these. And here I'm putting my lids on. These are off-brand lids. They're not ball lids. That's why I have them in warm water. These tend to seal better having them in warm water. I typically don't do this with the balls. I can just put them on top and not have to warm up the lids at all. There's like a wax ring around it. They say that helps with the sealing, but with ball, I don't have that problem, but I did with these lids. So it didn't matter what kind of mason jars you have, what brand rings you have, but the flat part lids, I recommend using ball because you do get a better seal the first time. And then I'm putting the rings on. And when you put the rings on, you don't sit there and tighten it till it's really tight. You just finger tight, meaning when you spin it and it tightens, you're not going to have to go back around and tighten it again. So you can see I just finger tight. And I go around and do that with all the jars. And now I'm going to put them in my canner. Now, like I said, you can use any kind of pot when you're doing bath canning. So you can use an Instant Pot. You can use just a regular stock pot because all you're doing is boiling these. I like these canning pots because they can hold a lot. And I have a taller one where I can put a metal piece on top and then double stack them because it's taller, but it's heavy and I didn't feel like dragging it in. So that's why I was using this one. And if they tip over, it's fine. That's why you try to balance it out. I should have just gone around in a circle and then put the middle ones in. But what we're going to do is we're going to get these in, and then we're going to use that rack that I put them on. We're going to drop it down into the water, put a lid on it, and then wait for it to come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, that's when your timing starts. So you're going to set your timer for 10 minutes and process these for 10 minutes. When I drop these in, they're going to go all the way in and be totally submerged. You want at least an inch of water above your jars. Here I have like 2 or 3 inches above the jars. So don't say, oh, it has to be an inch. You want it an inch or more above your jars. You don't want them partially submerged because you want it all to get processed. So all those pops you were hearing is your jar sealing, and you want to hear those pops. That's the pops of success. So I'm going to put these out on my wood board that's covered with a towel. Here you can see how those buttons are depressed. That means they've got a good seal. Those are the ones that you heard pop. This one did not seal. It didn't depress. It didn't have a pop. But after I let it sit there for about a couple minutes, it sealed itself. So sometimes it can take 24 hours for them to seal. Here's the finished jars. We're going to leave them sit here for 24 hours. We're not going to touch them. We're not going to mess with them. We're not going to take the rings off. We're going to leave them alone for 24 hours to give them a chance to set, to cool. And then after the 24 hours is up, you can go ahead and take those rings off, because you don't want to store these with the rings. And when you do store them, you don't want to store them stacked on top of each other, because if the seal breaks, you wouldn't know. So always put them in a single row with no ring on them. Date the top of when you process these. These are good for 24 months. Here's the finished product where I'm getting ready to sell these. So I took some little fabric squares and covered these. Put a little twine around there. And those are some of my peaches from my tree. And that, my friends, is how we make jelly. It's not hard. Just a few processes to get it done. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and share. And we will catch you on the next one. Have a great day.